Hey guys, Encrypted here. Today I wanted to talk about CS:GO and more specifically the AWP. The AWP is one of the most powerful weapons in the game. It's a one-shot kill anywhere in the body, other than the legs. And I want to talk to you and give you guys a few tips on how to improve your performance with the weapon. First, I want to show you guys my settings, which doesn't really mean anything at all to you, but I'll just show you what I use. Like most CSGO players, I believe the majority of CSGO players use a lower sensitivity. If I can get to game settings. Nope, actually keyboard and mouse, my bad. But my sensitivity is relatively low at 2.33. It takes a while for you to refine it. I finally found that my sweet spot was at 2.33. You can have mouse acceleration on if you want, but it makes, from what I've experienced from my personal experience, it makes me less accurate. You can disable mouse acceleration on Windows, and you can disable mouse acceleration within the game, as you can obviously see here. Raw input is what comes through. Having raw input on means that the game is taking what's going on with my mouse directly from the mouse, and it doesn't go through Windows. All the settings you have set through Windows. So if I were to have that off, I would be able to use my settings from like Razer Synapse and stuff, even though I'm not using a Razer mouse, but it's different software like that, but it just ignores that completely. So that being said, my zoom sensitivity is 1. I haven't really messed with that, but mess with your sensitivity, get it to where you like it. If you already have it where you like it, that's perfect. I prefer a low sensitivity. You definitely do not need a low sensitivity to be good with the AWP. With that being said, I'm going to get into the actual video here. Enjoy the tips, guys. Thanks for watching. So these following tips, or whatever you want to call them, are in no particular order, nor are they really numbered. And they probably don't correspond with what's going on in the video in the background. But that being said, the first thing I want to touch on is when it is appropriate to use the AWP. In this video, I'm just using the AWP in a deathmatch casual, which is perfectly fine. In casual games, using the AWP whenever is absolutely fine. In AWP, picking the AWP or buying the AWP in competitive matches, though, it's a completely different story, because more than one AWP is most of the time not necessary in a 5v5 competitive match. The only time I would buy an AWP would be if either one other person or no one else on the team has purchased an AWP and you feel like you have the skill necessary to use the AWP. And that you need to be able to communicate with your team to ask if anyone else has an AWP, and if no one else does, then go ahead and pick up that AWP. One AWP on the team can give you and your team a huge advantage, and it can help you win the round. Having more than one AWP could play to a disadvantage, and it could help you lose the round. So when to pick the AWP, just if you find it on the ground, give it to one of your teammates, or if no one else on your team has an AWP, I'd go ahead and pick it up. If you have the funds, if it's not a save round or anything like that, go ahead and pick up an AWP. Alright, the next thing I wanted to touch on would be what to do and how to handle close quarters situations. When it's really close quarters, like under 10 feet or 5 feet, when the enemy is like rushing you or is extremely close, I would highly recommend to no scope or just shoot them without zooming in or scoping in. This lets you be able to see. If you zoom in, it really decreases your field of view, and being zoomed out completely allows you to see everything and what's going on and for you to react quickly. Also, in close quarter situations, I would recommend pausing for maybe a second or a half a second or so before each shot, because after you shoot the rifle and reload it, if you shoot again, your accuracy is decreased. If you wait for about that half a second or a second, your accuracy is perfect or 100% right after you wait that half a second or so. So also something really important, but this doesn't apply to close quarters, but also just using the AWP in general, is doing something called quick switching. Mostly everyone who uses the AWP probably knows about this, but in case you don't, quick switching is when you switch between your rifle, the AWP, and another weapon extremely quick, and it's mostly done to get out of the scope instead of double clicking the right mouse button twice to get out. So for me, the button to switch between two weapons or quick switching is Q. So I double tap Q while I'm scoped in, and you can see me doing this a bunch of times during the video. It's just a thing that all AWP players do, I'm using any sniper rifle that zooms in. You can quick switch out really quick, gets you out of the AWP, scope and gets you ready to fire another round without having to double click that right mouse button to get out of the scope. Zooming, I want to touch on zooming while we're talking about quick switching. I would not recommend zooming in the rifle more than 2 times. That is because it greatly decreases your field of view by a lot, and it's not really necessary unless it's extreme long range or for just scouting purposes. I would say, for instance, mid doors. Say I'm sniping with the AWP from terrorist side. If I'm looking at mid doors and counter terrorists are passing from CT spawn going up to B, I would then maybe double zoom there. But in most situations, I would just recommend using the single zoom and then quick switching out. Because most of the time the twice zoom is not necessary, especially if you get rushed while you're in that 2-time zoom. You have less time to react, and more than likely you might die in that situation. That's not good. Another small thing I want to touch on would be flick shotting. Flick shotting is extremely popular throughout the AWPing and sniping community. Even across CSGO and games like Call of Duty, flick shotting is really big for many reasons. One of them which it helps you improve your accuracy. It makes it a lot easier to hit the target. And flick shotting is, I'll try to put a clip here of what flick shotting is. I do it maybe a few times during the video, but it's when you flick your mouse to the left or to the right. You start with your scope zoomed in, either to the left or to the right of your targets, or even to the bottom or the top, and you drag your mouse down extremely quick, and then it's called flicking it, doing that really fast. And you flick your mouse down really fast until the reticle on the scope is directly on the target, and then you fire the weapon, obviously. But that's what flick shotting is in a nutshell. Really, the thing that comes with flick shotting and what is necessary to perfect it is muscle memory, and that can be done by lots and lots of practice, by going into death matches. And that's the one thing that is like the major thing that you need to do in order to be good at any game with any weapon, is to practice a lot. You need to be able to practice with the AWP as much as you can. I would recommend going into death matches or AWP only servers, and this match right here that you see is just a casual death match that I played. This is my first death match of the day, just to warm up for competitive and whatnot. I would always recommend playing at least 1 to 2, maybe up to 4 deathmatch games before any competitive match, just so you get warmed up with both T and CT weapons. But with the AWP, you really need to get down muscle memory, quick switching, and all the sorts of scenarios with the AWP at long range and close range to really become good. None of these tips will help you at all if you don't practice. So I would highly recommend practicing. It's required to become good with the AWP or any other weapon in the game. So that's what I would do. Go out and practice on deathmatch. Go practice on any casual before competitive, so you can improve your AWP game. I hope these tips really helped you guys. Leave any feedback or questions that you have in the comments, and subscribe if you want some more CSGO tips and trading videos. Thanks for watching again. See ya.